Welcome back to the Study Abroad Pod. This season took us all over the map, from Nagasaki to London, Chiang Mai to Konkan, Bengaluru to the Gold Coast, Prague, Alicante, Madrid, Lyon, Gwangju, and Lüneburg. Your stories took us everywhere and through every possible vibe, from language wins to identity breakthroughs to full-on chaos. Like AC meltdowns, gay panic dinners, and not understanding Australian English. Let's get into what we thought this season would be versus what it actually became. We have to start with the thing everyone kept talking about: language. Not the Duolingo streak version, the real, messy, actual life version.
One of my ultimate friends that hardly spoke any English, she said, like, every time I see you, it seems like you're just like leaps and bounds ahead of where you were before with Korean. And I think a lot of that is attributed to having the people to practice it with, even more so than my classmates in class. Like playing Ultimate, it makes me like not afraid to like try something, like try a new phrase or like try and talk to people, because if I mess up then they just like laugh and tell me what the right one is, or like it becomes an inside joke or something. I think that was really, really helpful and really sped my learning on a lot. There was one thing that actually I think taught me the most Korean, and it's my favorite thing ever. But I became very well known for learning and telling Korean dad jokes. And those probably taught me the most Korean out of everything. And I am a menace, very much a menace. These dad jokes, they're called aje gege, which basically just mean dad jokes in Korean, essentially. And that is one of my favorite pastimes. Like when I met someone new, I would tell like a dad joke and they wouldn't even be expecting it. It was like coming out of left field. I'd ask a question and they think I'd be asking a legitimate question, and then I'd give them this like nonsense answer, and then they'd be like, "Oh man, like you got me." So yeah, that like those achegege, they're the best thing in the world.
My first experience really learning a language was when I was in Spain. I thought I would get there and be fluent in 2 weeks just because of, I was in Spain, I was breathing Spanish air, like it's just going to magically happen. I remember I had my first conversation with a native Spaniard, someone outside of my host family. I was just like, oh, let's try this out. And we made a connection, traded our WhatsApp numbers, and then started hanging out for pretty much the rest of the year. And so, yeah, that was definitely a huge part of what makes language special, is that connection. It opens you up to other people.
Something that I think is very important, the debate between accuracy and fluency, not be afraid of making mistakes. And also some students like to be corrected all the time, and others, if they are overcorrected, then try to become shy and not so willing to talk. There has to be a balance in that. In the US, they don't have as many opportunities to put this into practice in real situations. You can have a lot of apps, a lot of tools to listen, to read, to watch movies in Spanish. Big difference to be here in the country. So you go to the market, the central market of Alicante, do your shopping, talk to the bus driver, the tram, the subway, or the friends that you make in the streets. These are real situations. People of different backgrounds, different accents, different ages. That's real Spanish.
It turns out study abroad doesn't make you perfect. It just makes you brave enough to try again. Identity showed up everywhere this season. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, but always real.
I think another thing that I was super nervous about was my identity, but specifically if I would be too American for the Japanese students or too Japanese for my American peers. So visiting my grandfather's old home and meeting all his siblings and their children and their children and their children, and all of that was, I think I felt very at home, which is, I guess, surprising because I'd never met these people before, and it was the first day in Nagasaki, and just meeting them was such a beautiful experience, and that's part of why I wanted to go in the first place.
getting further into the process, it was definitely like, oh man, I think I should definitely have a conversation with my parents about this, because it's obviously I'm the youngest. I'd be the first to study abroad, something that they'd never really heard about as a first gen student. My mom's a very nervous mother. She's a little hesitant to have us doing things on our own. There's a lot of cultural experiences that were very similar to Mexican American culture. I think that's one of the biggest surprises, just how closely intertwined the culture can be with something that is so far and so vastly different, in my eyes at least. I ended up going to a couple of different dancing places because I'm a big dancer. And then I got to meet a lot of the local community. I think that's what I mostly focused on, which is what kind of led me to feel a little bit more comfortable. I bring a lot of my Latin American culture into my experiences abroad. I think it's very much a part of generally how I socialize, and that's where I find a lot of connection with the Thai students.
Well, as a woman of color and as a woman with curly hair, I was so worried about the rain and the humidity affecting my curls, just because my natural curls fall flat when it rains and I get like really stringy hair and it doesn't look nice. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna look awful in all of my pictures, or I'm not gonna know how to like tame my frizz. And so I was really concerned about that because I feel like hair is a huge part of my identity in terms of like how I present myself and like how I show up. It's what makes me feel really confident when I enter spaces, because I have pretty rockin' hair. And I think that's one of the first thing that people notice about me is like, oh, she has curly hair and it's so nice. I'm like, thank you. So I was worried about just managing that piece. But actually, that's like the time I look back at the most and I'm like, wow, my hair looked amazing.
And then there was Found Family, the plot twist no one sees coming, but everyone remembers forever.
We were the freshman dorm mate success story. So yeah, we were freshman roommates and became best friends, and then decided we wanted to, have an abroad journey together while we're in college. It was over summer going into my senior year of college. We studied abroad junior year, and I was blow drying my hair and just saw like on my bookshelf in my room, the books my mom had got me, which were like a guide to adulting, like guide to college, guide to whatever, like lots of those different types of guidebooks that really helped me as I was growing up and getting into college. And I was like, just thinking like, wow, this would be something that I think could be really valuable for students who are looking to go abroad. And, it can be an intimidating process, but it is a life-changing one. I called Jess because she was there almost every moment of my study abroad experience with me. And it's always fun to do things, with your best friend. I can't say I thought I would be an author. Like I didn't necessarily see that. I've always enjoyed writing and using it as a tool just to really like tune into emotions and feelings and to keep people updated. But then kind of just evolved into a book, and it's something we are both so passionate about and loved.
So I connected a lot with my flatmates, and there was two of my flatmates in particular that I connected with in two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And I think, well, all of my flatmates in particular, but with my German flatmate, I really felt as if I had almost like I had a brother abroad. And so I got to really connect with him. And I have never really fit in with feeling very masculine or feeling very feminine. I always thought it doesn't really matter. However I feel in the moment is however I feel. But with him, it was fun to sort of feel like a bro. We watched football. We had gone to a couple football matches. During Christmas time, we actually went to the darts semifinals championship. So I got to do all of these things that I had never really connected with before. And then I also had a Norwegian flatmate. And very opposite of that, we would go thrift shopping and maybe talk about the pretty guys that we had seen. And it was just very refreshing to feel very comfortable going in and out of these spaces. During Halloween, my German flatmate, I had told him before Halloween, you know what? If you get me a maid outfit, I'll wear it. And not only did he get it for me, but I was surprised that it actually fit me perfectly. So I was quite impressed for a couple of reasons. But just being able to be so fluid with how I express myself and learn more about my identity by living with them was quite great.
I was really fortunate, and I felt like my soul just really resonated with the culture and mindset of Thai society. Like the collective mindset is just so special. I felt always thought of and considered, and people would always be reaching out to me asking, hey, do you want to go to a market? Do you want to get food? How are you doing? Are you okay? You know, I think a lot of times, like especially the research world can be really competitive and cutthroat, and there it wasn't like that at all. Everyone would share what they're working on. They would help each other out. They wouldn't be, you know, annoyed at someone for not knowing something. They would just take the time and patience to help them understand. And so I think that really just warmed my heart so much, and it makes me miss Thailand to this day.
I was really, really excited to get immersed in the culture, learn the language, and kind of study at a German university. I didn't really even know that we would be like headquartered at a university in another country. So I thought that was really cool, being able to be part of Leuphana. And I think it's really cool how integrated we actually have become with the German university, having all the opportunities that we have to kind of mingle with the student body, talk to the international students. I've had the ability to join some fitness programs at the university, play some basketball with the German students. So it's been really cool just being able to really mingle with the other university students. Our first roommate, he was German, but he had graduated, so we switched off with another roommate. So that has definitely helped, like him and his friends. They're kind of inviting us, introducing us to kind of their social circles. So that's one of the biggest ways we've been able to meet German students. And also I've been participating in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program at the Hochschule Sport, which is awesome. Yeah, I really love talking to the ladies that work at the Mensa. I always ask them for extra Fleisch, which is extra meat. The translation whenever I order food, and they always, sometimes they'll compliment my German, so that's always really nice. The Mensa, by the way, the translation is like the dining hall, like it's like the dining hall at Leuphana University. So they always greet me with a smile.
For many students, their homestay wasn't just where they lived. It's where they belonged. They expected a place to stay, and what they found was a family that kept showing up.
It took me up with an incredible host family that inspired me to continue my language journey into France, and then finally here to Germany to kind of wrap it all up. A great word of advice from my Spanish host mother, Mar, in a moment where I was really frustrated with my Spanish, and I asked her, why can't I speak like you guys yet? Why is it taking so long? And she said, Zach, were you ever, when you were a little kid, could you ever have trouble seeing yourself in the mirror? And I said, well, yeah. And she was like, and one day you saw your reflection. So like there's a counter, right? And you're standing in front of the counter and you can't see the mirror over it because you're such a little kid. And one day you're tall enough to see it. So that's kind of what's happening with language learning is you're growing, and you can't see it until one day kind of all comes together and you can see your reflection in me and you're like, I made it. And so I remember that to this day, what she said, and it's helped get me through, now 3 foreign languages. I went back to Alicante during my year in France for the Christmas holidays. I went back to my host family to stay with them.
I have a good example here with that. The students develop very strong links with the staff, professor, with the homestays. Really, we have students who have a friendship for life, right? And they come here, they come back to Alicante. I'm sure also to Lüneburg with David, and they feel at home.
Yeah, it's always great when students come back to visit. You're always welcome back here in Lüneburg, Zach.
Another surprise lesson this season: slowing down. And we're not talking about the cute Pinterest version. We mean the lifestyle shift that sneaks up on you when you're abroad.
One of the biggest things is I think just how the just eating at restaurants and having meals is one of the biggest things that's different in Europe and America. Because in America, I feel like they're always trying to rush you out the door. But in Europe, I think having a nice family dinner, sitting down, sitting around the table, spending really quality time talking to each other as opposed to just trying to get in there in the food, I think is one of the biggest things. Also little things like drinking tea, or like eating little biscuits and chocolates and stuff. And it's different, you know. We have a nightly tea time every night. We just sit down, not every night, but a lot of nights we'll sit down in the afternoons after a long day, drink some tea before bed, especially when it's cold, is really, really nice.
Like for an example, like the sobremesa, like everyone, when you go have a meal, you take a long time at the meal and you sit down and you talk, and the waiters are going to take a long time, and everyone is just enjoying themselves in that sense. Or even just the community gathering and the way you greet people, right? In Spain, there's 2 kisses on the cheek. I don't always do 2 kisses on the cheek, but you're always hugging or kissing someone on the cheek.
Honestly, this one hits all of us.
We were traveling in Italy and I saw people just sitting on the bench in a park, like a ton of people in this park just sitting, not looking at their phones or anything, just sitting. And I was shocked. I'm like, I've never seen this before, you know, like where do they have to be? And it really just hit me how much I'm just always thinking, what's next? What's next? What's next? But like take a step back and, you know, what about right now? Like, let's enjoy now. And I just love that all those people in Italy were enjoying the sunshine of the day. While your future and all that, like internship wise, school wise, whatever, that's all important. What's also really important is from a life perspective, really just soaking in everything you have while you're there, especially too with having access to social media and your phone and everything, being very mindful and taking it all in, because the day you leave, you're going to miss it. And for years to come, you're going to really miss that time. I think, yeah, knowing that you made the most of it and didn't spend it on your phone or thinking about the future or anything like that, I think you're going to come out of it feeling very full. And yeah.
I know for me, like, that was one of my favorite parts of it. Felt like I could feed off of their energy, you know, when you see someone like that who's just so present, just like living life. And I feel like those moments and experiences that we had abroad and those insights are like why we wrote the book also, because it made us feel so good.
Peak study abroad behavior. If there was one universal experience this season, it was this. You will embarrass yourself, probably more than once, and honestly, that's where half the growth happens.
I think I would honestly just reassure my past self that it will turn out okay. I think I was really proud of myself for even like taking the first step of like settling into my dorm and then pushing myself to go downstairs and meet with people. So I would tell myself, like, trust yourself, it'll be okay, take a breath. Turn on the AC. I know it's hot. Oh my God. Did you struggle with turning on the AC?
Yeah. I had to search Google up and find an English translation version of our remote.
Yeah. I literally found a blog that was specific to this AC unit. Honestly,
they knew.
If I'm being 100% real, I was crashing out in my dorm because it was so hot in there.
It was so hot in there.
Because we came in like the middle of September. Actually, we arrived on my birthday. So I think that added a lot to
yeah, I think so too.
My feelings. I was like, it's my birthday and nobody knows it's my birthday. And it's like and I'm sitting in my dorm room, figure out this AC. And then we figured it out. It's okay, past self, you will figure out the AC, I promise. There's literally a blog that tells you step by step. And then you'll go downstairs. You'll be fine. So yeah, that's what I told myself.
This is all so real. If you know, you know.
For the first time, I did feel there was a lot of culture shock because I did feel like an American abroad. I think that nervousness and that sort of apprehension, being surrounded by people from all over the world, really pushed me to embrace my queer identity more And that was the first time that I really felt comfortable trying to be out there and ask myself constantly, well, what does it mean to be out? How am I going to dress? How am I going to talk? How am I going to walk? And it was great. It was a beautiful, chaotic mess, and it was just a journey of self-exploration and discovery. And that's really where I found my security. I feel more secure having been abroad in London with my queer identity. It was exciting. London was beautiful.
Sometimes the chaos is cultural, sometimes it's linguistic, sometimes it's gay panic. Study abroad really said character development incoming.
So I did my study abroad in Japan, and I did speak Japanese before I went. But I remember I got off the plane, I got to my hotel. It's my first night there. And I was like, dang, I'm so hungry. I need to go out and I need to get something. But I was so nervous to like go to a restaurant or go somewhere. So I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. And I went to bed and I didn't eat anything. And so I woke up the next morning and I was like, okay, I can't put it off. Like, I can't keep doing this. So I went to a convenience store and I was like, listening around, I'm looking around to see how everybody's like interacting with the cashier. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I like went up and the lady was like, oh, do you need a bag? Like in Japanese. And I was like, all of a sudden, everything gone. I was like, huh? And then she said in English, I was like, yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I messed up my first interaction. Like, and it's just so funny to think about now, because I've been back to Japan a couple times now since my study abroad. And it's like second nature now.
I studied a year in Melbourne, Australia at the University of Melbourne. Absolutely loved it. Was only supposed to do a semester and then extended for an entire year because I just didn't want to leave. For those who don't know, Australia is the size of the continental US, so it is a massive geographic country. And I had never been abroad before alone. And I was like, I landed in Australia and I didn't know a soul in the entire country. So like, I'm showing up to this country. I don't know anyone in like millions of people that live in Australia. And I go to check into my hostel because I arrived a few days before the program started. And there's somebody in the hostel who is speaking to me, and I don't understand a word that this man is saying. He is Australian, he is speaking to me, and I just freeze up, and I was like, I thought they spoke English here. I was like, oh my God, like, what is this going to be what my entire study abroad is going to be like? Like, I'm not going to know what anybody is saying. I started like panicking a little, but like Casey said, like it all worked out. I totally, got a feel for it. Obviously they speak English in Australia. It is a very different type of English in Australia, but it all worked out. It really is sort of kind of an opportunity to grow personally. I really didn't know what to expect from my time abroad, and then I came back and I was like, oh my God, wow, like I did that, like I spent X amount of time in a foreign country, by myself. And so yeah, it's really eye-opening at sort of how you grow and change and the things that you learn along the way.
This next part, canon event.
Yeah, I remember one day and that was like really nice. And I was like, well, this is like so much fun, just exploring and finding places that like I didn't know about, but because they themselves were a local, they were like, I'll show you here. Where do you want to go? And I was like, oh my gosh, everywhere. And I do remember having like gay panic a little bit I remember one time we were just like, out for like evening dinner and I kept making eye contact with this girl and I was like, oh, it's so hard to know if someone's like into you or not. But I just remember like sitting there, like waiting for food, like just like sweating. I was like, do I make the move? I'm like, no, I can't. I was like, what if they're just looking over here? But that was like, I think that was like funny. I did end up speaking to her and that was really nice.
If you don't embarrass yourself at least once a day, you're not putting yourself out there enough. So it's okay to go into a bakery and make a fool of yourself. Whatever grammatical lesson you learn in that bakery, you will never forget.
Nothing humbles you like ordering carbs in another language. Study abroad makes you realize confidence isn't about having zero fear. It's about doing the thing anyways. And the wildest part? The lessons none of us expected. feeling more grounded, slowing down, seeing yourself differently, realizing that you're capable of way more than you thought.
One habit that I brought back would be to really just try to like slow down sometimes and enjoy life. Like I think I maximized that in Spain, and I really want to try to go back to that sometimes, because I think being back in the US, I get caught up in like the hustle and bustle of United States culture or American culture. And in Spain, I was able to like both get work done. Like we were students, I was being studious while I was there, but I was also able to travel and like experience the local culture and cuisine and make more friends. And I really try to bring that back with me, and find when I'm getting really like caught up in my head about all these things I have to do, to also slow down.
I would say that one of my biggest joys was how fulfilling the experience was in general. More specifically, I think finding grounding in my poetry was awesome. I'm a poet at heart, I like to think, but sometimes it's hard when you have 6 assignments due tonight to like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write a poem. So having the space to actually write poetry and write in a more creative way was awesome. And I wrote poetry that I'm proud of and that I think is really important and relevant. And so that was definitely a joy and an empowering. And then, yeah, like you were saying before, I think another joy was finding that sisterhood and the broader community of the woman whose story I was writing, because again, it is so personal to edit someone's work, especially their deepest traumas. So I found that very fulfilling. I sort of, when I was feeling a little bit lost or unsure, subway stations were always felt like safe spaces for me, because they always had like air conditioning, because I was there in the summer when I started out and it's really hot. They always had trash cans, restrooms. There was always like a convenience store like a 7-Eleven or a GS25, and I could always get water and food there, and there was a place to sit. And if I was in a subway station, then I could go anywhere I needed to. I just sort of learned really quickly that subway stations are your friend.
When you do go study abroad and you are 1,000 miles away from everyone, like your family and friends, it really teaches you how much you should be connected and how you should reach out. And that even when I come home, I feel like I've learned a lot of staying in touch with people, and you kind of realize how much love you have for other people when they're not with you all the time. You can't see them all the time. You see how important it is. I learned to not take things for granted as much as I did before, just so when I come home, I feel like I'll be even more connected with the people around me, even though I've been away from them for 4 months.
And one of the most meaningful shifts this year didn't come from a destination. It came from language. We expanded the podcast to include 3 full Spanish language episodes so that Spanish-speaking families, students, and alumni could hear these stories in their own voice, their own rhythm, their own cultural space.
¿De qué estás hablando, madre?
Ahí va. Bueno, me acuerdo cuando me contaste que una vez habías ido a conocer un lago con tus amigas. Habías ido a conocer un lago y me mandaste una foto bien bonita. Y a mí me dio gusto que salías a conocer lugares diferentes y me mandabas fotos. Y yo decía, qué bonitos lugares que tú estás conociendo, tú que puedes. Pero sí, me gustaba, me emocionaba saber que ya empezabas a salir a conocer lugares diferentes, parques, que un lago. A mí me gustaba saber que mi hija empezaba a salir.
These episodes weren't translations. They were home, a space where families can hear their kids in the language that raised them. So here's what this year actually taught us. We came for the credits, but we stayed for the confidence, the clarity, and the people who made these stories what they are. Thanks for listening, for reflecting, for being part of this global community. And thank you to every student, resident director, and host family who made this season what it was.